everyone. Welcome back to my Adoption Live. Tonight we have a very lovely guest coming on. Her name is Wendy Gronemeyer, all the way from Indiana. She's such a sweet woman, and I cannot wait for her to come on and share her story with all of you. So Wendy has just requested to join in, and I will be adding her in so we can get started. And just waiting for Wendy to come on. Hi, Lainey. Thank you for joining. Hello. Oh my gosh, it looks so beautiful behind you. Hi, Danielle. Hi, Mia. Can you hear me?
Mia's my stepdaughter.
Aw, hello. Hi, Joni.
Joni.
Hello. Your tree looks beautiful. Hi, Zoe. Hi, Ala. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Do I sound okay?
Yes. You're a little, it looks so beautiful, but it's a little dark in the background.
Okay, let me get my lights.
Just a little
Hold
bit,
on.
yeah.
Yep.
Hi, Steph. Hi, Steve. Thanks for joining. Well, first, a very early happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
How are you, Wendy?
You know, I think this is going to be the best birthday I've ever had.
Good. Why is that?
Just, you know, like we talked, you know, it just, with the reunion and just knowing, you know, who everyone is and how everyone falls into, you know, my life and my story.
Yeah.
And I've never felt so supported.
Oh, good.
I feel very loved and I feel very supported.
That is amazing. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Okay, Terps in the house. Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
My husband.
Hello. Indiana Late Discovery.
Chris.
Welcome back.
Hi, Chris.
I guess we'll wait like a minute for more to come on.
Yeah.
Zoe, you are so loved. Yeah, she's right.
Zoe.
Journey of my Tri Soul. Hello,
Yeah.
how are you?
Oh, I love you too, Joni.
Aw. Where's everyone joining from? Let me know where you guys are from.
Joni's from Indiana.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have a good day at the shore?
Oh, yes, I loved it. Oh, that is like my favorite place in the world. I just don't care what the temperature is, I still go.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. I mean, I'm so glad you showed me that because it just, yeah, such a beautiful place.
I love it. Well, a friend of mine, Steve, who's actually on here, he actually told me to do more, like show more of myself. So I'm trying to show more of me and do little videos. So baby steps.
Yeah.
Baby steps for Baby Be Brave.
I hear you.
Okay, so let's see Zoe's from Utah. Olive Adopted Rising is from Georgia Peach. Journey of Tri Soul, New Hampshire. Indiana Late Discovery, Ohio. Lainey's visiting mom in Texas. Nice.
Yep.
Joni's in Florida now. We don't hate you.
No, we don't hate you, Joni. I wish I was with you. I know where you're at, and I know it's beautiful there.
Yes. Okay, well, I guess we can get started.
Okay.
So, everyone, this is Wendy. She's just so amazing. We were on the phone a couple weeks ago, and she shared a little of her story with me, and it really touched my heart. So, I cannot wait for her to share her incredible reunion and just, you know, the ups and the downs of being adopted and her experiences. So, Wendy, go for it. Here, I'm giving the mic to you. You go.
All right. Well, I'm just going to start from the beginning. A little bit of background. I was born in Illinois. Mm-hmm. I was adopted as an infant. I was 11 days old when I met my parents, and I have known that I was adopted my whole life. It was never a secret. It was never a big deal. It was just how I got to be. And I grew up with 3 brothers. My parents had 3 biological children after they adopted me. Okay. And I have a brother who is 9 months younger than me, And then 6 years later, my parents had twin boys. So I grew up with 3 brothers.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I was 46 years old, my husband, bless his heart, bought me a DNA kit for Valentine's Day. And that's how I got here. That's how I found this community. So I did my DNA, spit it, sent it off, waited 6 weeks, and I got a message from Ancestry.com that I had matched with 2 first cousins, a boy first cousin and a girl first cousin.
Okay.
So I immediately sent messages to both people. I sent them the same message. I tailored one for a female and I tailored one for a man, but I basically sent the same identical message. And I did not know if these cousins were maternal, and I didn't know if they were paternal. It just showed as a first cousin match.
Right.
So the male cousin got back to me within hours. And he said, I honestly don't know, anything about anyone in our family giving anyone up for adoption, but he goes, I will ask my father. He might know more.
Okay.
So it was like agony. I mean, it was probably a couple hours sitting.
The longest 2 hours of your life.
Of my life. I mean, I had the phone. I was refresh, checking my email, just, wow. It was tense. And he wrote me back and said, my father, his name is Richard, his sister gave up a child when she was very young. And I said, well, I do know that my birth mother was 15 when I was born. I said, that's the only thing I know about her. I know.
Very young.
Very young. I was born in a town called Sterling, Illinois, and it was not a big town. There's just one hospital. Everybody knows each other. My mother grew up there. My adoptive mother, my grandparents lived in Sterling. So there was a connection.
Okay. And
he started to, just give me some details. And then in the middle of all the waiting, I drafted a letter to my biological mother because I wanted to be ready when he said, that he would contact her for me. And the next email that I got from him, he told me that she had passed away. And
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. That was the worst day of my life.
I'm sure.
This was someone that, I always knew existed. I didn't know anything about her, and I had been searching for her on and off different methods. This is pre-DNA, pre-internet. I mean, I was born in 1971. So, I signed up for all the different websites. If you guys remember, Oprah, had a big thing about, connecting adoptees with their biological families. And I got on that. It was the Adoption Liberation Something Association, ALMA, ALMA.
Okay.
And I had been on the registry for years. When Illinois decided that they weren't gonna, block that kind of stuff, I immediately got signed up with the state of Illinois to exchange non-identifying information, which my adoptee friends, Michelle, we all know what non-identifying information is. It is what it is. And nothing. So, back to the DNA. So he told me that she had passed away. I found out that her name was Julia. Julia Renee.
Beautiful name.
Yeah. And she passed away in 2014. So she suffered. Giving birth at 15, not having support. She was told after she gave birth to me, when she came home that she needed to pretend like it never happened and move on with her life, and it would never be discussed again.
How do you tell somebody that? I mean,
I know
horrible.
it's no wonder that she had trauma and suffered, because
Of
she,
course.
nobody, you're 15 years old and you have a baby on December 4th, and you go home from the hospital, and you have Christmas, and you have all of these things, and all of her family came home. She was from a large family. She had 8 siblings. She was the second youngest. So my cousin put me in touch with one of my aunts, and my aunt filled me in. She gave me the good, the bad, the ugly. She gave me information about my other aunts, gave me contact information. So one by one, I contacted the members of the family whose information that I had. And then she told me I had 2 brothers. So James was on social media. He was not hard to find. And I immediately signed on to my Facebook and looked him up. And for the first time in my life, I saw somebody who looked like me.
Oh, that's such a great feeling.
Yeah. We look alike. And that was amazing. I sent him a message, and it was the craziest message I think I've ever sent in my life. I said, I think I'm your sister. Do you know anything about your mother having a child when she was very young? And it was a half an hour, and he messaged me back, and he's like, I have known about you since I was 13. Oh. And I didn't know how to find you. I have been hoping for this day to come. I have a brother, Zach, and he knows about you too. And welcome. And
how wonderful is their response, though? Like, they didn't ignore you. They didn't like say, no, I don't want to talk to you. They just were so open for you, and that's amazing.
James is a gift. James is my gift in all of this. We talked the whole night. We were sending texts. Excuse me. We were sending text messages back and forth for like 8 hours straight. Wow. Rapid fire. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I've been a little bit under the weather.
That's okay.
And just everything that we could possibly think to tell each other, we did. And it didn't stop. It only stopped when we had to go to work. Right. From that day, that very first day that I found him, he has texted me good morning every single day. Oh. He has made sure that I knew.
I love that.
With me. And my husband immediately booked a plane ticket. I was down there in 11 days. I flew down to Florida, met my brother, James, at the airport. He brought some friends because he wanted to share the stay with them. And we had the most intense, beautiful 3 days. And we worked together nonstop. He got me the courtesy suite at his apartment complex where he lived, because he knew that I would need my own space, because he knew that I would need time to process. So we just went at my pace. He lives in Sarasota, Florida. Okay. One of his friends actually owns a resort down there. So we spent most of our days sitting on the beach.
Oh, wow.
In Sarasota.
It's paradise all around.
It was, it could have been the worst place in the world, and it would have been the best place for me, because when I walked off that plane and I walked down that little thing, the gangway. Yeah. And I went to the baggage. He was waiting for me at baggage claim. And I came down the escalator, and he was standing there with a dozen roses and a sign. And
you had me tearing up right now.
It was really cool. And we hugged, and I touched someone for the first time in my life that was related to me. And We have the same eyes. We have the shape of our nose is the same. It was instant. I mean, there was no denying that we share something that I have never shared with anyone. I mean, he was my first biological relative that I ever met.
Zoe, I'm crying too with you.
We shared. We cried. I mean, we hugged. We touched. I mean, there was no awkward. He's big. He's 6'4". He towers over me, and it was like he was just like this bear. He's 8 years younger than me, and he just envelops me. Like his hands are huge. Everything about him. And we just got to know each other, and it was the most. Up until that point, it was the most amazing experience of my life. And we talked about Zach, and we talked about Julia, and you know, he let me in on some things, and you know, she did not have the best life. She struggled, and you know, we decided then together that, you know, a lot of her struggles and issues in life were because she gave birth to a child at 15 and was told to forget that it ever happened. And that was hard on her. It was hard on her. That was, I don't think she ever overcame it. Everyone that I've talked to in the family, everyone that has shared with me about Julia's life, they all agree. It shouldn't have gone the way it went. She should have had, you know, some support.
Of course.
So I had to leave and come back to Indiana. And so I came back, and again, like I told you, we talk every single day. Every morning around 9:30, 10 o'clock, I get a text from him. Good morning. And we may talk for a half an hour. We may talk for 45 minutes. We may just exchange quick good mornings because we both have things to do. Yeah. But the fact remains that he has never, ever not been there for me since we found each other.
That is beautiful.
So he's been the hugest support. The first time he came to visit me, we had gotten a name from one of my aunts who she thought my biological father was. Mm-hmm. We got in the car. We drove 5 hours. We went to Sterling. We had his address. We had the name. And we drove by his house like 15 times, but I wasn't ready to process that part yet. Right. There were some circumstances, you know, around my conception and my birth that prevented me from having those warm, fuzzy feelings for him. You know, I wasn't hearing good things, and rightfully so. I mean, their side, Julia's side of the family, it just wasn't. There was no love lost. You know, they were young. They didn't date, you know, that's all I knew. I do know that when, you know, when she told him that she was pregnant, he denied, you know, being involved, not being involved, but he denied that he was possibly the father. Wow. And that didn't set well with her siblings. One of her brothers, you know, wanted to go kick his ass. My Uncle Dick, who has since passed away, but I got to meet him a couple of times, and boy, was he special. That man had a glimmer in his eye that he was just ornery. And I did meet two of the aunts. I met my Aunt Becky, and I met my Aunt Janet, and I spent time with my Aunt Janet. She lives in Florida as well, not too far. At the time, she lived not too far from James. So it just was basically getting to know people. So I spent a whole year getting to know Julia's side of the family. I wanted to know, you know, everything about Julia that everybody knew. I was, you know, put in contact with cousins. I was able to talk to some of my cousins. I was able to get memories from them about, you know, Julia when they were growing up and what she was like. And the second time James came to visit me, he brought me a file folder. He brought me every single thing that he had of his mom's, every picture, everything that she had saved. And he gave it all to me. He gave me her birth certificate. He gave me everything that he had.
That's so
because
sweet.
he was like, she would have wanted this. She would have wanted this. She would have wanted you to have all these things. We look alike, Julie and I.
Okay.
That was very, very comforting to me. Seeing what my mother looked like.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, the person who grew me, the person who I was grown inside. Again, it's indescribable. I mean, the people that I know who have been through this, obviously they're going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
But for people that have been raised and live with people that grew them, they're creators, they're makers, it's really hard growing up not knowing and not seeing yourself in someone else's eyes and not seeing your mannerisms and your thought processes. I mean, even though James and I didn't grow up together, and even though we only met when I was 46, we have so much in common.
Yeah.
Julia chose a career as a hairdresser. I was a hairdresser for 28 years. I always career. Our passions. We both had passions for growing things. We both had passions.
You froze for a little bit. I don't know if we missed some things. You said Julia was a hairdresser, and then you were a hairdresser for 28 years?
I just retired last year.
Okay.
28 years behind the chair. Nice. And with some of the most lovely clients in the world. Mm-hmm. We both had the same hobbies. I love gardening. I love plants and birds and bugs and just anything to do with outdoors, but
nature. You're a nature lover.
Nature and birds, though. There's a bird connection there. She studied birds. She owned birds. Birds were a huge pastime of hers. People would bring her birds because the bird needed to be helped, or it needed some TLC or some, loving care. People would bring her birds. And James said all the time growing up in their house, they had at least 5 or 6 birds.
Wow.
So in hearing those things, hearing those things about a person that I never knew.
Yeah.
And now knowing that where all of those things within me came from.
Right.
It was so soothing. It was life-changing. It was life-changing to hear about this person, this myth. She was my unicorn. I never in a million years thought that I would ever meet her. I don't know why. I don't know where that came from. And obviously, I never did meet her. She passed away in 2014, and I found the family in 2018. So I was 4 years.
But you never reached out to her prior to that, right? Or
no, I didn't have her information until I did my DNA in 2018.
Okay.
So this is, relatively new for me still.
Of course. Yeah.
So, after I got settled in with them and started talking to all my new cousins and talking to the aunts and uncles, and, getting to know Julia through them and asking the questions, and they were all so gracious. They all opened up their hearts to me. They were like, anything you need, anything you want to know, just tell us. I met another uncle like the summer after that. He was passing through Indiana, and he's her oldest living brother. And I was able to sit at, we went to breakfast at Cracker Barrel.
Fun.
Yeah, that was really cool. Talking to him and his wife, because he was already actually out of the house when I was born. So he wasn't there for like the pregnancy.
Okay.
But he was adult enough to tell me some more nuanced things that some of the kids, the younger aunts and uncles, didn't really know and they weren't aware of. So they kind of filled me in about my biological grandmother. Okay. And she was the spearhead in the we're giving this baby up. She put some pretty big lines in the sand. If you keep this child, you're not going to stay here. I'm not raising another baby. Don't have time. don't have time. We don't have the money. You know, I'm just not doing this. So if you want to keep this baby, you're going to be homeless and you're going to be on your own.
That is so tough.
So, you know, that's coercion. She was coerced. I mean, 15-year-olds, come on. 15-year-olds are immature enough to think they're going to be,
You're
you know.
still a kid. 15 is a kid.
Right. So she's a kid having a kid, you know, trauma on top of trauma.
Right.
You know,
No support.
none. No support. None of the other family members that were out of the house, no one stepped up. And that was hard for me to hear and to find out that I had, you know, all these aunts, four aunts and uncles that were adults. Some of them were married, and one of them already had a child. So I have one cousin that's older than me. And it just never occurred to anybody, you know, to step in and try to help their sister. So, you know, I had to deal with that. I had to deal with it was almost like a secondary rejection for me.
Yeah.
It didn't sit well, but, you know, I didn't blame them, but it hurt. You know, nobody wants to hear that they weren't wanted. You know, nobody, Michelle, you know, I mean, you're an adoptee too. That's the hardest thing to get over is the fact that you were not a wanted child.
Absolutely.
And, you know,
that is scarring for life.
It's traumatizing.
Yes.
For life. I mean, that's a trauma that we're never going to get over. I mean, we have to accept it. We can try to heal it, but that's not going to change.
That's the part of, well, we are wanted, just we weren't wanted by the people we wanted to be wanted by.
Right.
Know?
Right.
But I could see all the support you have on here. Everyone's saying such beautiful things to you earlier. I wanted to read them out, but I'm going to read them out later. All of the new family members you met, you know, they want you, so you are definitely wanted.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what you mean.
Just not the way that nature intended for me to be wanted. That was a hard thing to accept.
Yeah.
I did not understand the nuances of adoption until I did my DNA. I was someone who said all of the things that you probably shouldn't say. You know, I thought all the things that I thought the narrative that I was taught growing up. I mean, I was told that she loved you so much she gave you up, and that was damaging for me.
I was told the same thing.
Yeah, we talked about. Remember I think that's a very damaging narrative.
Yeah, I don't think anyone should say that
to
someone if it's not true.
No, don't. Hey, adoptive parents, do not tell your kids that their biological mother loved them so much she gave them up, because that messes a kid up.
Depending on the situation, at least.
Right.
Yeah. I just want to say a shout out to Zeke, a shout out to Jean who just joined. Thank you both. But continue.
So that was tough to get over. You know, my whole world came crashing down. I had never researched adoption as trauma. I had never been involved in any of the dark parts of adoption. I was told by my mom and dad that, you know, you were chosen, and, you know, come to find out that's not necessarily exactly how that went down. My adoptive parents, who I love very much, who gave me the best life that a girl could have. And I feel loved by them. I have a great relationship with them. Matter of fact, I have a more open and honest relationship with them today than I did 5 years ago.
Good. And it's never about it's never about our adoptive parents. It's always about us.
Yeah. So talking to my mom and confessing to her that growing up, I had these weird feelings, but I never knew where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, and I was able to almost diagnose myself with, you know, all the stuff that goes along with being an adopted child, an adoptee. Because
PTSD.
It is PTSD.
It is, and absolutely.
I spent a year in my basement. When I was not at work, I was in my basement of my house, not doing any household chores. I was writing. I was furious. I had days where I couldn't speak to anybody. I had days where I had to call in sick to work because I was too depressed to go in. You know, people were like not understanding what was going on with me. And I basically had like a midlife crisis over just trying to come to terms with the people that made me, the people that love me, the people that raised me, you know, two families, two.
Yeah.
I mean, two. At that time, I only knew of Julia's family and then my adoptive family. And I just got to the point where I was done. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't know how to feel. I was just a crazy person. I was like tearing out my hair, not showering. I mean, all the signs of, you know, depression, like you said, PTSD.
Yeah.
I couldn't cope. My husband, God love him, picked up the slack. He did all the household stuff, took care of the kids. I have stepchildren. I do not have biological children. I couldn't ever. I I never wanted to have my own children. Because of this, I did not know what my medical background was. I wasn't prepared emotionally. I never felt like I would be
Yeah.
able to bond because I never felt like there was just too many gaps for me to try. And plus, I didn't want to pass the trauma down to my children. And, you know, we'll talk about generational trauma. You know about generational trauma. All of our adoptee friends in here, they know about generational trauma, especially the ones that have had children. Their first biological relatives. You know, it comes out in the craziest places and in the craziest times. And I was so just crazy. I decided that I was gonna track down my biological father. I was ready. And I was angry and I just, it was just on, you know, it was like a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband bought me one of those background check, you know, subscription things where you pay monthly.
Yeah.
And so we got a couple of phone numbers. None of them were on social media. So my biological father was not on social media. I do have two brothers from my biological father. So they're my half brothers.
Okay.
My biological father's been married for, I want to say, I'm 49. So I think he's been married for like 47 years.
Okay.
And before he married his wife, he told her that he might have a baby out there somewhere and that it was a girl. And that someday she may be, you know, finding us.
Wow.
So I couldn't find any phone numbers for him, but I found a phone number for one of his sons, the youngest of the two. And one day I just had enough. I needed answers. I was ready. And I called him, the son. And I knew that it wasn't, his name is JL. I knew it wasn't JL's number, but I asked for him. I said, may I speak with Jeff? And he's like, you have the wrong number. And I was like, do you know someone named Jeff? And I used his last name, which I'm not going to do. I'm not going to do that here because
Right, of course,
you know,
for privacy reasons.
them. And he said, yeah, that's my dad. And I said, all right, well, here's what I need you to do for me, if you could. My name is Wendy. You have my phone number in your caller ID. I need you to get a message to him, and I need you to tell him this is in regards to Julia. He's gonna know. He's gonna know what that means. And he's like, all right, okay, you know, we've talked about it, what, you know, how he felt that day. So he got my message to his dad, and it was like 3 days later. I was at Sam's Club with my husband, getting the groceries, getting the toilet paper and the paper towels and the garbage bags. It was a sunny day, I'll never forget. And I left my phone in the car, which was, at this time, not something I did a lot because with all of this going on, I was constantly trying to stay connected. And we came out of Sam's Club, we got in his car, and there was a message from an area code that I was very familiar with. I played the message on speaker, and it was my biological father, and he was returning my call. And he said, I know who you are, and I knew this day would come. Call me back. So I called him back, and he was like, it was weird. It was not a warm and fuzzy. It was more of a kind of an interrogation. He did not know that I knew she had passed away.
Okay.
So he was very careful and he was very caring, but he did say, "No, you do know that she's no longer alive." And I said, "I do know that." I said, "I've actually known that for a year." And I said, "I've had your name for a year." And I decided that it was time for both of us to know about each other because I didn't want to waste another minute. I didn't want to take another chance that you wouldn't be here
Right.
to do this for me. You are my only living biological parent, possibly. Because at that, I wasn't going to go into it with the, you are. I wanted to give him an opportunity. So during that conversation, his wife was sitting right next to him, and she's a gem. Her name is Sue, and without Sue, it would be so different. She has been the most amazing, supportive person who really technically isn't involved in any of this, but she has been supporting her husband. She's incredibly supportive of me, and she took the time. She ordered the DNA kit while we were on the phone.
Oh.
So he got the DNA kit, and he texted me when he got it, and he told me I'm sending it off. And we didn't talk. We didn't talk the whole time. We didn't talk the whole time. We were waiting for that DNA to come back. And funny enough, he's an early riser, much like myself. Everyone who knows me knows I'm up at 5 a.m. every day, and I just don't sleep in. I never have, even as a child. And one morning at about 10 to 5, I got a text, and he's like, "I got my DNA test results back. I'm your biological father." And I said, "Well,
what a thing to wake up to."
What a thing to wake up to. What a thing to wake up to. And I was like, wow, it was a day. It was a day. I had to go to work that day. I had to go to work, and
that'd be a mess.
I was a mess. I didn't give a shit. I was like telling everybody that I had found him. And that's another thing about all this. I had to do all the work, Michelle. I had to do all the finding. Nobody came looking for me. And that's kind of shitty.
Yeah.
It was shitty. It felt crappy. I had always had this fantasy growing up that someday, right, somebody, her, him, didn't know, would find me. And it was just going to be this miraculous thing. And it was going to be like all the reunions on TV, and everyone was going to be hugging and crying. And, maybe it would be such a popular thing that somebody would, take pictures and make a video, and maybe we'd be on the Today Show or Oprah, because, everybody loved Oprah. And, I just didn't have that. I did not have that kind of reunion with him.
Yeah.
I was mad at him. Everything that I had been told, everything that had been relayed to me, about their non-relationship, it just never felt the way I wanted it to feel. And that pissed me off. And I wanted him to suffer. I wanted him to feel my rage. And I treated him terribly. I would text him and ask him questions when he would, answer me. I did spend, 3 hours one day going through, I downloaded a medical questionnaire off the internet, and we went through it all. Okay. And I asked him all the questions because I needed my health information, and I learned a lot about that side of the family. Okay. I learned a lot about myself from that side of the family, behaviors and tendencies, hobbies. He's kind of a bird guy too.
Really?
Right. So it was basic. It was not warm and fuzzy. It was not welcoming. It was very matter of fact. A lot of that due to the fact that he was not into the phone. Texting was just very yes or no. There was no emotion surrounding our communication. And then the whole time I'm also texting with his wife, and she's trying to explain, you know, please don't give up on him. You know, please, please, please. He just does not know how to express himself. And then I finally said, you know what? Maybe we just need to meet in person.
Yeah.
It's time. I just don't want to wait another second. So I made plans to go. My husband went with me, and I had been talking to his sons, my brothers, this whole time. I started talking to them more in the beginning, and we created a group chat, and they're hysterical. They are amazing people. They both have children. They both work very hard. They still live in the same town where I was born. We were all born at the same hospital.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we went back to Sterling again that next year. It was a year later after I met James. And I met my brothers first. We stopped where each one of them were, and one of them was at work. He was getting off that night. We were all going to have a big dinner. So I met them each individually. And then once I met them, we went to the biological father's house, and I pulled up. And of course, this is a house that I had driven by 15 times the year prior. This was a house that I just didn't have the nerve or the guts to get out of the car and say hi. And I did. We got out of the car, we walked up the sidewalk, and he was standing in the door, and he opened the door for me, and I looked at him, and I recognized myself. I recognized myself, and I could tell that he recognized himself in me. We do have a very strong resemblance. The brothers and I share a lot of the same traits. But the most amazing thing to come out of that side was I have two nieces, and one of them is my clone. I saw a little girl. Look at me. We both knew instantly. She recognized something in me. I recognized something in her. She sat by me the whole time. She wouldn't stop touching me.
Aww.
She was asking questions. It was huge. It was huge. So we all went to a big family dinner, and we sat around, and we talked, and we joked, and it was a really great visit. I got to meet, one of them is married, so I got to meet his wife. They have a little boy. And then my brother Jacob has two little girls. He is not married, but he's in a relationship. Okay. And they are great at keeping in touch. We have the group chat. We send videos back and forth. They send me pictures of the children constantly because they know how important that is to me. That is my genetic mirroring. Mm-hmm. That is how I get my genetic mirroring, by them sending me pictures of the children and each other. And I have only been around them once because then COVID happened. Yeah. You know, and I did have plans to go over there this spring to spend some time, and we all decided that it just wasn't worth, putting everyone at risk.
Of course.
Yeah. His mother is still alive. So I do have a biological grandmother.
Oh, wow.
I am the oldest grandchild on that side of the family.
Okay.
So I did get to meet her. I took pictures with me of my whole life growing up. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was very surreal.
That's
it was
amazing.
Very surreal.
Aww. All your story is so great. Excuse me. So we have about 15 minutes left, and I don't want it to cut off. So I want to
let's do the questions.
Yeah, so I want to get to the questions, but I mean, just the love you're getting from everybody, just I mean, everyone said such wonderful things to you. They just felt your pain, and let's see what some things.
I will say our adoptee community, as you know,
it's amazing.
You know what? Adoptees are amazing people. Yeah. I'm so glad I found you guys. Life would not be the same. Exactly. I would still be sitting in my basement tearing out my hair if it wasn't for you guys. If I didn't have the support and the friendships and the bonds that I have formed with you guys. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Zoe, it's the best when you find your siblings. I'm so warmed to hear that you received such a beautiful response. That's from Adoptee Rising. Her name is Olive. She's actually coming on with me next week.
I love Olive. Hi,
Yeah,
Olive.
it's very sweet. Just they're just saying some beautiful things, just supporting you and sending you a lot of love.
I'm feeling it, you guys. Thank you.
Good. And thank you all for your support.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Wendy, what does adoption mean to you? In just a few words.
Yeah. Loss. Because with there would be none of this would happen had I not suffered loss. I would not have met my parents had I not suffered loss. You know, Julia lost. I lost. But you know, I love my mom and dad, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I can't say anything other than how much I adore my parents, how much I credit them. I mean, they have nurtured in me, you know, incredible work ethic and principles and values. You know, all the things that parents teach their children, I learned from my mom and dad. Yeah, so you know, I had the most I had everything I could have possibly wanted, you know, except for growing up with my biological family, and that's a really hard thing to reconcile, because you feel guilty.
Yeah.
You know, so adoption is loss and guilt for me.
Lost and guilt. Okay.
Not a lot of beauty, honestly, in the adoption part. The beauty is outside of the adoption part. The beauty is the parts I choose to see as beautiful.
I like that.
It's my choice to see beauty. And you know what? It's also my choice to feel shitty. And it's also my choice to be pissed. And it's also my choice to have questions. And it's also my choice to say, you know, screw you, adoption. And, you know, screw you for taking away stuff from me without my choice. You know, so there is that too. I have a lot of animosity towards adoption. That is not towards my parents. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do. My anger is not directed at my mom and dad. They didn't know. I mean, I have a birth certificate, you know, that says my adoptive mother gave birth to me. I mean, that's insane. That's got to stop, you guys. We got to do something about that. I am owed that original paperwork. I need my birth certificate that says Julia Cater gave birth to me. That's something I should have. That's not something that should be kept from me. No. Those are my issues with adoption. It's the system. It's the, you know, the corruptness, the greed, the coercion, the privilege. I mean, the privilege within adoption. Yeah. That's where my anger lies. My anger lies with the system of adoption. And we're going to work on that because you know what? There's a lot of us, Michelle. You know, there's a lot of us that want to make some changes. We want to change it so babies don't have to go through what we had to go through. It's insane the amount of things that we've had to deal with and we've had to go through, and those things need to change. And that's why I'm here. That's my purpose in life. I'm going to make some changes. I want to help us change this so that there's not another baby born that has to go through life like us and that has to feel like shit about things that aren't fair. And that, you know, I didn't know to ask my parents the questions. I didn't even know that I was traumatized until I came out of the fog. You know, we all talk about what it was like when we came out of the fog. And it wasn't until I came out of the fog, it just all came crashing down on me. So building back up, finding myself, finding you guys. I mean, Michelle, you've been a dear, you know that. Wait, I love talking to you. So,
I love talking to you too.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm always here.
I know you are.
That.
You're a huge good support, and I love watching you talk to our people and you know, the new people that you've brought into our lives. You know, I think it was your friend Steve. You know, I watched that one with you the other night.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that was really uplifting, and I love the people that you've brought into my life.
Well, I'm bringing a lot more, so Michelle is so warm and open. Thank you, Olive.
Michelle is so warm and open. We love Michelle.
I'm going to have plenty of lives, adoption stories. I'm going to have a mixture of mental health conversations, self-love, acceptance. I'm actually going to have Steve's friend come on with me to talk about self-love, and her name is Sarah, and I just, there's just going to be a lot more lives, and that's why I wanted to continue the lives, not just for Adoption Month, but I'm like, everybody has a story to share, and why should I stop after November?
There's so many of us, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
there's so many of them, of you guys, of us.
You guys need to come and do it with Michelle. Come do lives with Michelle, because I want to see you guys.
I'm trying to get people to come on with me, but I will never push anybody. Whoever wants to share, they are more than welcome. And you know, and it could just, and really honestly, anybody who's, you know, their parents were adopted can also come on with me and talk about their experience of having an adopted parent.
I would love to see you get some birth moms on there too.
Yeah, I'm working on a lot of things.
Birth moms, I want to see you. We have some birth moms in our community. Come tell her story.
Well, I think we have to wrap up now.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. You're welcome, Joni. I'm so glad you're hosting these. Thank you. Thank you, Journey My True Soul. Thank you, everyone who's come on and showed Wendy and myself support and so much love. And yeah, go follow Wendy, go follow me, and let's make this community even better.
Love you guys.
Okay. I love you all. Wendy, thank you so much. And then, oh, everybody, say happy birthday to Wendy. It's her birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday.
49, you guys.
Woohoo!
This is 49, and I'm here. We're doing this thing.
Yes, we are. No happy birthdays for Wendy?
Oh, they're thinking. There it is.
There it is. There we go.
Look at all the hearts. That's so great. You guys,
I know. A lot of love.
Lainey. There's Lainey. Thank you, Joni. You know, Joni, I love you. You know that. Oh, thanks, Chris. Thank you. You guys are so great.
Aren't they sweet?
Yeah, they are.
Sweet. Look at all the hearts going up. I love it.
Sagittarius, you know it. Hey, I'm an Enneagram type 4, you guys. I just did the Enneagram. Type 4.
That's so funny. I always say I'm a 10. I'm all of them.
Right.
All right. Well, have a wonderful night. Wendy, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I love you all. Mwah. Bye, Wendy.
Bye.
Good night.